The Red Sox promoted Marcelo Mayer this weekend. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Tuesday, May 27th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers. Hope everybody enjoyed the long Memorial Day weekend. Let's talk about the Red Sox promoting Marcelo Mayer. It actually happened because Alex Bregman went on the IL. He's dealing with a significant right quad strain and, could miss 50 plus games, something like that. So a big loss for fantasy. But as a result, we are getting Marcelo Mayer, who's 22 years old, a first-round pick back in 2021. He was hitting .271 with 9 home runs and .818 OPS. He's up to 62% rostered. Chris, do you think that Marcelo Mayer is a must-add in fantasy?
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is that there is a fairly long runway here. That's not to say Marcelo Mayer is just up for good forever, because we've seen more talented prospects struggle and get sent down in their first taste of the majors than Marcelo Mayer, and it's certainly possible that it happens for him, but he's got the opportunity here because of the Bregman injury, which Bregman himself compared to a quad strain he suffered in 2021 that caused him to miss 58 games. That's not to say that it's going to be the same thing, but I do think we're probably talking about at least a month here based on what they've said so far. And after that, if Bregman comes back and Marcelo Mayer's hitting, there could be somewhere for him to play, because we've got Trevor Story's been very bad since about mid-April at shortstop. Christian Campbell has had plenty of struggles of his own, but he's also capable of playing across the infield at first base. They've been trying him out there. I assume he'll be able to handle it. They've played him in the outfield. There will be places for Marcelo Mayer to play if he proves worthy. It's just not a guarantee he will. So I'll say he's a must-add just on the off chance that he figures it out and hits the ground running, because there is some 5-category potential. He is definitely a jack-of-all-trades type of prospect, not necessarily someone who has huge standout skills. He's got a decent hit tool, and he's got good power, and he's got pretty good speed, and you put it all together and it should be a good player. It just might be more of a Dansby Swanson type player where he's good. He doesn't really stand out anywhere, but the sum total of his skills make him a pretty valuable player.
All right, well, with the loss of Alex Bregman, we do need some replacements. So let's take a look on the waiver wire. In shallower leagues, Matt Shaw has looked pretty good since rejoining the Cubs. He's all the way up to 78% rostered. So, 10 teams, shallow 12-team leagues. And Jake Burger continues to hit well since rejoining the Rangers. Chris, who do you like more between those two, Matt Shaw or Jake Burger?
I think I prefer Burger, but it might just depend on league type. Burger is a rough player to roster in points leagues because it's bad plate discipline. And obviously Shaw's going to have more speed and probably a better batting average than Burger. So if you need power and run production, Burger's the better bet. If you need the other categories or head-to-head points, I think Shaw's probably the better option.
All right, some names in slightly deeper leagues. We have Miguel Vargas, who's hitting well in May, Brett Beatty, who's looked great since being recalled by the Mets, and Addison Barger, who's actually hitting pretty well for the Blue Jays. Chris, how would you rank those three? Vargas, Beatty, Addison Barger.
I want to buy into Brett Beatty. He's continued to be a very good hitter at AAA. He clearly has some skills. There's some good quality of contact stuff going on. He doesn't really play much against lefties, and we have a very limited sample size of him succeeding. Now, look, you can say the same thing. Miguel Vargas, very limited sample size of him succeeding. At the major league level, it's basically just the month of May 2025. So if you want to say that there's not a ton of evidence there for Miguel Vargas, I won't disagree with you, but I think he does play a little more consistently than Beatty. He's got a better home park. So I'll buy in a little more. I do think Addison Barger's a clear third in this group.
All right, let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back in FBT Express, and taking a look at waiver wire pitchers from the weekend. Some names in shallower leagues. Ryan Weathers had a strong start at the Padres in a revenge game. Drew Rasmussen makes it 2 quality starts in a row. Grant Holmes has looked better recently as a quality start in 4 of his last 5. and David Peterson, a great outing up against the Dodgers. Shallow league names, Chris, between 70 and 80% rostered, but how would you rank Peterson, Holmes, Rasmussen, and Ryan Weathers?
Yeah, Weathers is the only one I would say has to be rostered everywhere. I think what he's shown, the increased velocity, the changeup and sweeper were already very good pitches last season. Now he's throwing that fastball harder, getting more whiffs with that. I think he is clearly the most interesting of this group. And I guess he hasn't had a 2-start week, and that's why his roster rate hasn't climbed the way some of the other pitchers who were rostered around the same rate as him a couple weeks ago have. But I think Ryan Weathers, potentially a top 40 starting pitcher, should be rostered everywhere. The only thing holding him back is really just the team around him. After him, I think it's kind of a toss-up between Rasmussen and Holmes. I'll go Holmes in a... They're both sparks. I'll just go Holmes across the board. I think there's a little more strikeout potential there. Rasmussen, he's turned things around nicely in the last few starts, but swinging strike rates way down. Strikeouts have not been there.
All right, let's take a look at some other names here from the weekend. Noah Cameron had a strong start at the Twins, 6 2/3, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. Like to see that. Nick Martinez turned in another quality start, pitching really well over his last 7, just not getting many strikeouts. And Landon Roop, back-to-back quality starts for him. Chris, anyone stand out from this group? Noah Cameron, Nick Martinez, and Landon Roop.
All right, so Cameron, he's gone at least 6 innings in all 3 of his major league starts. I think he's allowed 1 earned run in all 3 of his major league starts. Before this start, he had 6 strikeouts to 5 walks in 12 2/3 innings or whatever it was. This is the first one where I've actually looked at it and said, okay, there could be something here, something to build on. He's had very good minor league numbers at times. Maybe there's something there. I think on the whole, I'm still not particularly impressed with Cameron, but his 4-seamer looked much better in this start. He was getting a lot more movement with it. That's important because he doesn't have premium velocity, throws around 91 miles an hour. I'm a little more open to Noah Cameron being worth rostering in 12-team leagues after this start, but not at all a must-add player, I think.
All right, and the last group includes Jake Irvin, Lucas Giolito, and Zach Littell. Again, some great starts there from that group. Any of those stand out for you, Chris?
I guess we got to focus on Giolito just because I think we know Irvin, he's useful at times, but his peripherals are bad, and we saw it collapsing on him in the second half last season. Littell, I think he's like Nick Martinez, like great command, great control. There will be some really good stretches, but there are going to be some homer issues as well. We've already seen that with Littell at times this season. So Giolito, it's 3 pretty good starts, 2 really bad starts. The changeup just hasn't been there. And that's been the biggest thing holding him back so far. Is the changeup has typically been, before this injury, his best swinging strike rate, and it just hasn't worked for him as a whiff pitch right now. He's shown enough that I'm not saying he should be added in any of the 50% of leagues where he's available, just because, who was it? Cameron's rostered in a lower rate. There are probably some leagues where Weathers is available, and Lucas Giolito. I would much rather have Weathers, but you can hold on to Giolito if you don't have an obvious person to add. I don't think I'm saying go out and add him, but let's see what the next start looks like.
And one more name, if you need saves, Daniel Palencia of the Cubs has the last 3 saves for them. And I'm not sure how this is going to wind up, how it's going to end for Daniel Palencia. Hopefully he just, goes on to be awesome. But he's got the job now. He's like only 30% rostered or whatever it is. So if you need saves, he is very clearly the top option available right now. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again on Thursday. Bye-bye.